In the last module, we discussed about automated recording, which was the first type of recording we could do. Now, in this module, we would be discussing about manual recording. So the question that would come into mind is, what is manual recording and how do we work with it? So let us just start that now. Okay. So see, manual recording is what, as the name says, which we do manually, right? And how do we do that? So it is pretty easy. We need to work with developer tools. Okay, and what kind of developer tools actually? So we need to use browser developer tools. Okay, so let us start with it and let's learn how we can say manually generate a script. It is easy. Okay, so over here, first of all, we need to open browser, and suppose we have a scenario where we need to go to jmeter.apache.org. And here, once we have requested this page, we need to go to download releases, and then in the end we need to go to changes history. So these are the three things that we need to do. Let us jot them down. Okay, so the first one is JMeter home, then download releases, and the third one is changes history. Okay, so these are the three steps. We have already performed these steps in automated recording. We have already recorded them, but now we would be learning how we can record them manually. It is easy. We just need to learn few things and we can work with it. So let us start with this. Now, as you can see that this is open, the website is open. First of all, we need to go back to the main page. Over here, we need to open developer tools. Now, there are three ways to open developer tools. So let me just jot them down. So the first way is F12 key. Okay, so F12 key. And apart from that, we have another key combination. Let us just learn about the F12 key combination. So suppose this is the browser window opened. You just hit F12 key on the keyboard and it would be opening this developer tools. Okay, now I'll close this. Now the another shortcut. So what is another shortcut? So that is Control plus Shift plus I. Okay, so this is a shortcut. Let us try this. Control, Shift and I. Okay, and it would be opening the same window once again. So this was about the say keyboard shortcuts. Now we have another shortcut as well. Sometimes what happens is that none of the keyboard shortcuts work, so we need to use a manual way. Okay, the graphical user interface way. So that is pretty easy. Let me just show it to you. So over here, as you can see that there is a button over here, right? So if you notice this, okay, there is a button, right? So what you need to do is that we need to click on this button, then go to more tools and then developer tools. Okay, so this is pretty easy. Now the thing is that it might be shown to you something like this, or it might be shown to you something like this, or like this, or like this. So don't get confused. Actually, the developer tools can be shown inside the same browser window, and it can be on the three different locations, that is left, right or bottom, or sometimes it can be opened in a different window as well. So I prefer using the different window. Just click on this three triple dot button on the developer tools and click on the first option, that is undock into a separate window. What this does is this opens the developer tools in a different window rather than being on a same window. Now as you can see that this is the page that we've requested. So over here, if I go to the network tab, you need to move to the network tab. You don't need to be on the elements tab now. So go to the network tab and over here check the option preserve log. Now re-request this page, that is reload this page and go back to the developer tools. As you can see that there are a lot of requests going through. So start examining the request on the first request. Okay, so this is the first request. Now as you can see that this request is going to jmeter.apache.org, right? Now this means that this is the request that we need. Now over here you can see that this is the request. So let me just copy this. Now over here you can see that this is the request. So just a minute. Yeah. So this is the request, right? And over here you can see that we can divide it into multiple parts. So how do we divide it? You can see that there are some slashes. So HTTPS can be the first part, then jmeter.apache.org can be the second part. So this is the second part. Okay, so we have divided this request into two different parts. Now coming back to JMeter, so as you can see that we have not started JMeter. So what we need to do first is open JMeter. So JMeter is stored over here in this directory. So I would be quickly going to that directory where it is stored, and this is where we have stored JMeter. Now we would be starting JMeter directly, and it would be taking a bit time to open. Now what we need to do over here in JMeter? So actually we need to add few things so that we can have a sampler added. Okay. Now what things do we need? So let us start with that. First of all, right click over here on the test plan and add a thread group. Now the question that would come into mind is, we were discussing about sampler and the manual script generation, from where this thread group came, right? So thread group is something which replicates users. Okay, it does not replicate user action, but it virtualizes users. So thread group directly means that user group. Okay, thread means user. Okay, let me jot it down as well. So thread equals to user. Okay, what kind of user? Virtual user. Okay, now coming back to this, so we have the virtual users, right? Now whenever we want to have a test running, we need to have thread group added. Without the user, we won't be able to run the test, right? Because actually we are replicating users, right? So over here we would be right clicking over now, and now we would be selecting sampler. In sampler there are so many samplers listed out, so we would be adding a HTTP request sampler. Okay, now HTTP request, we already know about the sampler. Now in HTTP request sampler, what is the difference? So HTTP request sampler replicates a user action which is of HTTP request. For example, I'm going to this browser window and I'm requesting this page. So actually it would be replicating the same action. Now as you can see that it is asking us for a few things. So those things are protocol, server name and port number. So let us provide these things. So the protocol is HTTPS. The server name, so server name as we saw over here is jmeter.apache.org. So let us just replicate it over here, jmeter.apache.org. Okay, apart from that it is asking us for port number as well. We can keep it blank as well, but no, we won't be keeping it blank. We need to specify the port number. And what is the port number for HTTPS? So the default port number for HTTPS is 443. Whenever you're using a HTTPS website, you need to provide the port number. Okay, the default port number is 443. If in any case the website is deployed on some other port, so you need to specify that port number over here. Okay, now the next thing, that is request method and path. So right now these things would be left blank. Now let us move to the another page. So coming back to developer tools, now as we are done with the first request, okay, now we need to flush out the log. So click on this clear and everything would be flushed out. Come back to this page, click on download releases, and you can see that now the things related to download releases have been recorded. Right, now click on this download jmeter.cgi and you can see that this is the request you need. Now you might have noticed one thing, that the URL is a bit longer now, right? So over here, see, just a minute. So the URL is this now, right? And if we notice it, it is this much longer, and we can divide it into multiple parts. And on what number of parts we can divide it? It is pretty easy. So first part is this, the second part is this, and the third part is this. Okay, so these are the three parts on which we can divide it. Let me just jot them down as well. So first part, second part, and third part. Right. Now let us just replicate this thing over there. So we need to replicate this thing over here in JMeter now. Right. So coming back to JMeter, the first part is HTTPS. But where we need to specify these things now. So this is the first request. The first request was that is JMeter home. Right. Now we need to add another sampler. So add sampler and then HTTP request. Here we need to specify the things. So the first part is HTTPS. The second part is jmeter.apache.org. Right? And the next is the port number. So whenever there is a HTTPS website, by default the port number is 443. Now the next thing, that is the path. So the path is download. Okay, underscore jmeter.cgi. Right? So this is the path actually. So we have specified three things: the protocol, the server name, and the path. Okay. Apart from that, we have specified the port number as well. Right? Now over here we need to go to the third request, that is changes history. But again, before going to that request, before switching on to that request, we need to do few things. That is, we need to remove the log. Okay. Then come back to JMeter and browser, and then click on change history. Now as you can see that I've requested change history, so it would be recorded over here, and a lot of requests have been recorded. Now go to the top of your screen and you can see that changes history is requested. Again, this URL can be divided into three parts. So let us copy the third part first. This is the third part. Here we need to specify the name of the last request. So this is downloads. And now we need to add a third sampler. So HTTP request, and the path is this, that is changes history. So we need to specify the name over here as well. So changes history. Okay, and we are done. So the third part is specified. The second part can be copied from here, that is jmeter.apache.org, and the first part can be specified directly, that is HTTPS. Right? So there are three things that were specified, that is JMeter home, downloads, and changes history. Right? Now how do we see we have done this part in the automated recording as well, but now you might be confused what is the difference between automated recording and the manual recording, and why we are using manual recording when we can record it in the automated recorder as well. So the thing is that when we were working with automated recording, if you've noticed that a lot of requests were getting recorded for the same number of requests, right? So we had three different requests, that is JMeter home, the downloads, and the changes history. But when we were working with automated recorder, we recorded almost 230 requests for this. Right? So actually the needed one was for 3 only. So that is why I prefer using manual recording rather than using an automated recorder, because in automated recorder you would be getting a lot of things that you don't need, and in manual recording you just record the things that you actually need. Okay, now to see the results, okay, as we have done generating these three requests, we need to see the results as well, right? So how do we see the results? It is pretty easy. All you need to do is right click over the test plan, go to add, and then add a listener. Okay, and then view results to listener. So there might be two questions on your mind: what is a listener and what is a view results tree listener, right? So let us start with the first with the listener. Okay, so just a minute. Yeah, so listener, okay, and view results tree listener. So first of all, listener is something, okay, which listens to the requests generated by the sampler. Okay, so records the data from sampler, data generated, okay, from sampler. Okay, apart from that, it records the responses as well, okay, and responses. So simply whatever data is being sent, so let me just show it to you, show something to you. So suppose over here there is some data which is being sent, and that data is, say, suppose I'm this person, okay, and this is internet, okay. So I sent some request, okay, and it responded me back. So whatever which was being sent in the request would be recorded. Whatever which was received from the request would also be recorded. Everything would be shown to us in the form of a listener, where it would be showing us all the data, what was being sent and what was being received. Okay. Now this is discussed in detail in the listeners module. Okay, you can watch that module if you want to see in detail, right? Right now we would be working with view results tree listener, which shows us the results in the form of a tree like this, that is test plan, then thread group, and then JMeter home, downloads, and changes history, and all these are inside the thread group tree. And then the another option is view results tree. Thread group and view results tree are inside the test plan, right? So this shows the structure like this, that is a tree structure. Okay, now not wasting much time into this, now let us start with the execution. Okay, so this is what we need. Now we need to start executing the test. So what we need to do is we need to click on the start button, and it would be asking us to save the test plan first. So let us save the test plan, and this is manual recording. Okay, now I'll save this, and you can see that this would be executing. All the three requests are going through. The first request is this, that is JMeter home. The second request is this, downloads, and the third request is this, that is changes history. Right now in JMeter home, you can see that there are there is some information, that is thread name, sample start time, then load time, connect time, latency, size in bytes, sent bytes, and so on. Okay, so there is a lot of information actually. So what is the thread name? The thread name is this, that is thread group. Okay, now what is 1-1? This means that this is the first thread group of the same name. Okay, and the first number means the number of user. Okay, so this means that first user of this thread group. Then -1 means is that the same thread, say like if there are 3 thread groups, okay, with the same name, then this is the first thread group with the same name. Okay, so this represents the user number, and this represents the name, okay, name number. So over here, thread group 1-1 means that there is only one user of the first thread group. Now the next thing, that is sample start time. So the sample started at this particular time. The load time was 1112 milliseconds. Every time whenever you are dealing with the times in the sample result, this is in milliseconds. Okay, then the connection time is 697 milliseconds, and the latency is 1112 milliseconds. Then the size in bytes. So this is the data which has been received, that is 12806 bytes. Okay, that is approximately 12,000 bytes. Okay, and you can refer it as 12 KB. Okay, now the next thing is sent bytes. Then what is the size of data being sent, and header size in bytes, out of which the data which has been received, what is the size of headers, that is 312 bytes, and the body size is 12494 bytes. Okay, so these are the things that we get. Okay, this is the information that we get from a view results tree listener sampler result. Okay, apart from that, what is being sent, what request is being sent would be shown over here, that is request body, and the method is get. The data, the request which is being sent to the server is this, that is https jmeter.apache.org. and what is the response data? So this is the response data. Now right now it is shown in the form of a HTML text, right? And you won't be able to see it properly. So what you can do is you can click on this text, click on HTML, and you would be able to see this page rendered as a normal page. Okay, you can see that the content is shown to you something like this now. So this is how you can see the results. This is how you can generate a request. Now this was about a simple request, right? We are generating a simple request. Now I would be naming this as JMeter home. Okay, and now we would be disabling this thread group. So the shortcut is Control T, as we have discussed in the first lecture as well, or sorry, in the first module as well. Now I would be adding a thread group. Okay, I can add any number of thread groups I would want to. I have disabled the first one, and now we would be working with the second one. Now, right now, we just did something very normal, right? Now, suppose there is a scenario where we need to go to google.com and search for something. Okay, so how do we search for that? So first of all, we need to go to google.com. We can replicate it directly. So right click, add sampler, HTTP request sampler. The protocol is HTTP. If you're using HTTPS, then you need to specify something different. So over here the server name is www.google.co.in, right? And whenever you're working with HTTPS, you need to specify the port number is 443 only. If you're working with HTTP, you need to specify the port number as 80. Okay, so this is the first request. We can name this as Google Home. Now let us move to this next request. So coming back to Google, and then over here we need to go to developer tools, flush out everything whatever we have. Then we need to search for something, say JMeter. Okay, I want to search for JMeter and I'll hit enter. Now as you can see that if you see the developer tools, okay, there are some requests which are gone through. Now is this the request that we need? Actually the status code is 200. So this means that it might be getting redirected, okay, or it is just some information thing. So over here this might be the request, right? The request status code is 200. So actually this is the request that we need. Okay, now as you can see that it is searching for something. Okay, and if you notice over here, these are the things that it is sending. Now it is sending a lot of data actually. Okay, now what is the request and in how many parts we can divide it? So if you notice over here in this request, let me just paste it over here. So this is the request. This is very long, so I won't be showing you the whole part. I'll just show you the quick idea, okay, how we can divide it actually. So now you can see that this is the first part, this is the second part, and there is the third part. But what are these parts? Let us just discuss them now. So first part is this, second part is this, third part is this, and fourth part is this. From where the fourth part came, right? We have already discussed about the three parts only. So whenever the request is of type GET, okay, if you notice over here the request is of type GET. So whenever there is a request of type GET, you need to divide the data into the fourth part, and from where the fourth part begins, actually it begins from the question mark. So all the data after the question mark is needed. Copy this data, go back to JMeter, add a new sampler, and that should be a HTTP request sampler. I've mistakenly added a flow control action, so we need to remove the sampler, and that has been removed as well. Now we need to specify the data, right? So add from clipboard is the easiest way you can add the data. You can see that there is some data being copied, right? But actually in our case we just need the first set of data, we don't need the other sets of data. So what we would be doing is we would be deleting that data. Now coming back to first, second and third part. So the first part is HTTPS, the second part is www.google.co.in, and the port number is 443, which is the default port number for HTTPS. Then the request method is GET, and the path. Now we need to specify the path. So what is the path actually? So the path is the status slash search. Okay, so over here this is the path, right? And we need to specify it over here slash search. Okay, and this is done. You can see one thing, I'm running this request, and over here you can see the results as well. So HTTP request is going through and it is searching for JMeter. It is showing the results for JMeter as well. So over here we would be specifying this as, say, search Google search hyphen JMeter. Okay, so now this is how we can work with it. And now the question that would come into mind is, what if we want to have some more data related to request which needs to be searched for? So we can search for something like this, that is Apache JMeter. Now do you think so it would work? Let us see whether it would be working or not. So let us see, and I've executed it, and you can see that in the view results tree the second request is failing. Now if you see the sample result, it is saying that java.net.uri syntax exception. This means that this request is not going through. So what is the error over here actually? Now as you can see that non-HTTP response code, response message, illegal character in query at index 40. If you notice the query, okay, this is the query. Let me just copy everything. Here we would be opening Notepad++ or Notepad only. Now we need to go to the column number 40. So actually the column number 40 is this, right? 40 or 42. Let us just cross check. So JMeter, and coming back to sample result. So at index 40. So index 40 is this actually. Okay. Now after this it is showing us an error, right? So what is the error actually? So error is this, that we have specified a space mark which is not acceptable by the browser. Okay, so what we need to do is that we need to use something different, and that is, say, we can use plus mark. Okay, so now this plus mark acts as the space mark whenever we are working with the requests. Now you can see that if I run this request, right, you can see the results over here, and the second request is going through, and the response data is this, that is Apache space JMeter. So this is how you can search for, or you can send the data with the get method with this, say with the data with having spaces. Okay, now you might be confused about one thing, that is I'm continuously speaking about get method, and get method. So what is get method? Now before that, what is method actually? Okay, so let us discuss that. Now whenever data is being sent, it is sent in the form of two ways. The first one is get method, and another is post method. Okay, so in get method the data is sent in a plain, say plain text with URL. Okay, on the other hand, post is something, say, encapsulated text with, or you can say that encapsulated text sent separately. Okay, so now we are done with the get method. We would be learning more about the post method now. So post method is usually implemented by the websites on the login pages or in the forms, right? So how do we work with it? Now you can try this for something like this. Okay, for trying this, you can go to JMeter enable. So jmeter.archive.org. This is the page. Now we need to replicate this request as well. So go back to this developer tools. JMeter archive.org would be requested somewhere over here. This is a request which is getting requested. Okay, and it is not able to run this request right now. So might be the website is not working. So it is saying that JMeter archive.org took too long to respond. So let us just retry this page. There might be some issue with the page actually. Okay, so right now it is not working. So we can switch on to some other page, say facebook.com. Okay, now it has already logged me in, so we need to do one thing. We need to go to the developer tools, incognito window, and we can try opening the same page once again, facebook.com. You can see that it is asking us for some of the information. So let us quickly open developer tools over here on this window, preserve log, which needs to be checked, flush out everything, go back to this browser window and try to provide some data. So say here, this is some dummy data I'm providing. Okay, so over here it is asking me for some information. I'm providing some information, and now if I click on sign up, a request would be sent, right? So let us do one thing. Let us clear out everything once again. Click on sign up. Okay, and it is saying that click on enter a valid mobile number and an email address. Okay, or an email address. So say aaa@aaa.aaa. Okay, then I can copy this, and this is done. Click on sign up. The request is going through. If you notice over here, it is failing over here, but actually the request has gone to the server, right? And where is this request? So actually we need to scroll down to check whatever data which was being sent and whether the data is correct or not. You can see that over here it was sending a request to contactpoint.com where it was verifying my email ID. Okay, so register.php was a request and a lot of data was being sent, but over here if you notice, registered email confirmation, then the registered password, birthday month, and birthday year would be recorded as well. So these are the things which are recording, right? This is which are being sent actually. So we can click on view source. I can replicate this whole request, copy the data, go back to this, and here I would be adding a new sampler. That is a HTTP request sampler. I've accidentally added a flow control action, so we need to remove that. Okay, now you can see that I can specify the data, so I would be clicking on add from clipboard and it has copied a lot of data. Coming back to this developer tools window, we need to provide another set of data as well. That is the third request. So part of the request is this, that is over here in JMeter. We can specify it in the bottom. So the path is this, then another thing, the user origin. Okay, the server name is this, that is www.facebook.com. You can cross check it over here as well. Control 0 and this the www.facebook.com. So server name is www.facebook.com and the protocol is HTTPS and the port number is 443. Right, so these are the requests which have been done and Facebook register. Right, we can try running these requests now. So flush out the log and run these requests. You can see that the requests are going through. Facebook register is failing. Okay, and what is the request? This is the request, and actually we sent the request with the wrong way, that is get method. It was supposed to be post method. Now let us run this request once again, right? And you can see that again it is failing. This time it's saying that it is a bad request. Okay, and the data is being rejected. So they are actually rejecting the data right now. Okay, so you can see that they have given you an error from the Facebook only, that is we are working on it to get this fixed as soon as possible, right? So the thing is that the request is being sent to the registration server. Okay, what data is being sent? You can see it over here, request, and So request body, this is the data, this is amount of data which is being sent. You can verify the data over here as well. Okay, so this was about manual recording. You need to practice a lot for this. Okay, how you can generate a script, how you can generate an effective script. Okay, thank you.